Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video on Latin coding. In this video, I will take you through PDF documents on Android and I will show you how to write professional PDF documents and save them to the external storage in your Android device. So before we get started, let me show you what are we gonna do in this video. As you can see, just simple screen with the save button. Let's click on that. And now the user can change the directory of the PDF file that wants to save. Click on save. And as you can see, the file was already saved. Now, if we go to the files and we go to the downloads directory where we just saved that file, as you can see, we have this PDF document and we actually generated that within our Android app. And let me actually open this in my browser so you can actually see it. So as you can see, this is the PDF document that we saved in our Android app. So this is just an invoice. As you can see, this is the number, we have the date, and we have a button here. So if we click on this button, we go to some link. We're going to implement all of that. Then we have the details here. We have this table. We have the signature here, which is just an image. So this example will cover all of your needs whenever you want to write a document, a PDF document. Okay, so now I'm inside an empty project. I'm using Compose for the UI. If you use XML, that is okay. We're not gonna build any impressive UI, so you're good to follow up even if you're using XML for building your UI. So now we want to start up by adding the dependency of the library we're going to use, which called itext.pdf. So you'll find the dependency of this library in my description, or you can actually go to the GitHub repository and you can grab that from there. So as you can see, this is the dependency. Once you added that, click on sync now. And by the way, this is a Java library, which is very famous in Java development. They have a dependency for Android, so we can use the same exact library in Android. Okay, so once we added that, now we can use this library to create PDF documents. So let's go to the main activity and let's delete these default things from Compose. And then I would like to create a private function and call this create PDF. So in this video, and before we build the invoice PDF file, I want to show you how to deal with this library. Then we will move to a practical example and we'll build our invoice PDF. But for now, let's actually see how we can deal with this library. So since we want to deal with the file system in Android, we actually need the context here. So let's get that. And the first step to create a PDF document with the itext library is just the output file where you want to save the PDF file. So let's get that. So let's say output file, and we can just create a simple Java file. And for now, let's actually save this into the files directory in the internal storage. And I will show you how to save that into the external storage at the end of this video. But for now, let's keep it simple and save this into files into the internal storage to the files directory. Okay, now we passed the parent file. Now we want to pass the child file. And here, let's call this test.pdf. Now the next step is to get an instance from PDF writer class. So we can say PDF writer. And we can say PDF writer. Let me correct this. And in here, we want to pass our output file. So as you could tell, the PDF writer used to just write data into our file. Okay, now the next step is to have a PDF document. So we can say PDF document. We can say PDF document, and we need to pass the PDF writer in here. Now, the last step of creating a PDF document is to get the document object itself. So we can say document equals to document, and make sure you import the one that comes from the itext PDF library. In here, we want to pass our PDF document. And in this constructor, you can also pass the page size. So we can say page size, and as you can see, we have all the page sizes you actually ever want, or you can just pass your own page size. So we can actually create an object of this class and pass the width and height of this page size. But for me, I will use A3 in here. Now, finally, we can write into this document. So these 4 steps are essential whenever you want to create a PDF document with the itext PDF library. So these won't actually change. You will need them every time you want to create a PDF document. Now we can actually start writing content into this PDF. But before that, we want to initialize a page into this document. So we can say PDF document dot add new page. Now we are ready to write content into this page. So let's start by writing a simple text. And to do that, we need to say document dot add. In here, we can pass a paragraph. And make sure you choose the one that comes from the itext library, which is this one. And here you pass your text. So we can say hello world. And after that, don't forget to call document.close. Now let's create a button, and I want to center that. So we just wrap it with a box, apply content alignment of center, and we can add a button here. Let's call this save. And whenever we click on that button, we can call create PDF. And for the context, we can pass this. Now let's actually launch this app. Okay, now let's click on save. Now to find that file, we can go to the device manager. We can choose the emulator that we're running. Click on this file icon. And here we can go to the data directory. Choose data again. And here we want to search for our package name for this app, which is Android PDF. So we can click on Control F and search about Android PDF, which is the name of our app. And as you can see, this is the package name, or this is the data of our app. Let's extend that and let's go to the file here. As you can see, you can find our test.pdf file. So if we double click on that, and here you go. So here's our PDF document, and here's the hello world that we typed. Okay, that's cool. Now, as you could see, there's a default margin from the top and from the start, and you can of course cancel that. So to do this, we can say document.set margins, and we can pass 0f for all the sides. We just relaunch the app now and try to save this again. You won't see any default margins. So let's click on save, get back to the device explorer here, open the test PDF again, and here you go. There's no margins for this text. Now you can of course apply styles on this text. So let's first take this out of here. Let's create an object for this one. Call this hello world. And let's pass this hello world in here. Now we can apply so many things on this text. First of all, we can set text alignment. So we can say set text alignment, and we can make this center. Let's say text alignment. Let's put this in the middle of our line. We can change the font size. So set font size. And here you can pass a float value. So let's pass 22F. We can change the color. So we can say set font color. In here we can pass a color. So we can say device or device RGB dot black, or let's actually pass blue. And we can also change the font. So we can say set font, and we can simply say PDF font factory dot create font. In here you actually have some standard fonts that you can use. You can access those by typing standard fonts. And here, as you can see, this is the fonts that you can use with this library. We can say Times Roman. Let's see this one. And now let's see our PDF with these changes. So click on save. Let's see the PDF again. And here you go. So it applied all the styles and all the methods that we gave into that paragraph. Okay, now let me delete this paragraph. And let's see how to add a list of items. So we can say val list equals to list. And make sure to choose the one that comes from the itext PDF library. Now we can say list, add, and we can add elements. So we can say item 1, duplicate this, let's make this item 2, item 3, like that. Now we can pass this list in here, and let's see how that looks like. Let's click on save, and let's open the test PDF document again. As you can see, this is the list. Now you can customize this list by changing the symbol, for example. So let's see how to do that. We can say list dot set list symbol, and here we can, for example, pass decimal symbols. So list number type. As you can see, you have so many options. Let's choose decimal here, and you also can add a style for your list items. So you can say list dot add style, and here you create style object. and you just change the font size, for example, just as we did with the paragraph. But I'm gonna delete this. And let's see our list with a new symbol. Save. Let's open the test PDF. As you can see, now we have numbers. Okay, now let's move to the next thing we have with this library, which is the links. So you can just create a text with a link. We can say val link equals to link. And here we can pass the text. So land of coding, for example, and we want to pass the action. So we can say PDF action dot create URI. And here we pass the link. So let's just pass Google. And here we can just, for example, make this bold, and we can add set underline. Now to add this link, we can just say link. We need to attach this to a paragraph. So we can say paragraph dot add, and we add this link to this paragraph. Now let's launch the app and see the link. So let's click on this, and as you can see, it wants to open Google. Let's cancel that for now. Another thing you can do with this library is to add a divider line. So we can say that line separator equals to line separator, or line separator, like that. And here you define what your line looks like. So you can pass a solid line, you can pass a dashed line, and yeah, so many things. So let's just pass a solid line. And then let's add this in here, line separator. Let's just duplicate this like this to see how that's gonna look like. Click on save. Now, as you can see, this actually shows at the top here. As you can see, the lines are close to each other, so this shows like a rectangle. But what this does at the end is just to separate or to create a line from the start to the end of your document. Okay, the last thing I want to show you before we design or we write our invoice PDF is that table. So we can create a table which we are going to use when we actually create the invoice PDF. So let's just delete this and let's say val table equals to table. And in here you need to pass the columns. Let's pass 3, for example, and let's pass true for large table. So what this means is that the table will actually take the maximum width. Now let's just add cells to our table, add cell. So in here you need to pass a string or a paragraph or an image. So let's just pass a simple text. So for this one, this would actually be the column, the first column. For this one would be the second column. And for this one would be the third column. Now we will start with our rows. So this would be row 1, column 1. This would be row 1, column 2. So we filled the table by the columns. This would be column 3. This would be row 2, column 1. This row 2, column 2. This row 2, column 3. So that's enough. Let's just have 2 rows. And let's now add this table and see what that looks like. Let's see that. And as you can see, here is the table. Okay, so enough introduction about this library. Now it's time to build the invoice PDF file and save it to the external storage. Okay, so now let's delete all of this here. We are gonna actually create our invoice PDF file. So for that, I would like just to create a class and call this PDF documents generator. So in case you have many PDF documents or different type of PDFs, you can actually have a function for each one of them. But for our case, we're only gonna have one function to generate invoice PDF. Okay, so for this class, we need the constructor because we want to save the file. And for that, we want the context. And we also want to create the invoice class, which has the invoice data. So let's actually right click here, create invoice class, and let's make this a data class. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste this one because it's just a data class with some attributes, so you can just copy and paste, or you can write them by yourself. Okay, so as you can see, this is the invoice data class. It has these data, and for the person info here, as you could see, we have from and to. Each one is a person info object, and for this product, we have list of products that we are gonna show in the table. Okay, now let's get back to the generate invoice PDF function, and we want to get the invoice object here. So invoice, and here finally we can start generating our PDF document. So as I said, the first couple of steps are just the same for all the PDF documents with this library. So let's actually cut that, and we also can just comment this out or delete it. Get back to our function, we can paste that part in here, and let's change this test.pdf to invoice.pdf. And by the way, for now, let's actually keep this into the files directory. We will handle the external storage thing at the end of this tutorial. So for now, this is it for the document. Here, let's actually change the page size and create a custom one. Let's pass 650 for the width and 700 for the height. And here let's call apply on this. In here we want to just change the margins, so set margins. For the top margin, let's make this 50F. For the right margin, 13F. For the bottom margin, 13, and for the left margin. We also want to set a property here. So by default, if you create two paragraphs, there will be a spacing between them. We can change this spacing by setting a property. So we can get that property from itext library, and in here we want to pass leading, and here we pass a leading object. In here we pass leading multiplied, and finally here we pass the spacing between two paragraphs or between two elements in your PDF. Let me show you what I mean. If I go here, as you could see, the spacing between this paragraph or between this element and this element is 1F. So that's what we're doing in here. And let's also call set word spacing to 0F to apply that. Okay, now we're adding a page here. Let's actually get that page in this object, and now let's create the first part we have in the document, and that is this text. So we can actually create a comment here. We call this invoice number. And for this one, we can just create a paragraph. So let's call this invoice text. We call paragraph. And in here, we want to pass the text. So invoice, and we want to put the number of that invoice. We can get it from the invoice object. Now we can set bold to make this bold, and we can change the font size to 32F. And then let's actually create the date here. So we can say val, or we can actually create a comment before that, just to make everything clear. We can say val date text. And for this one, I want to create a helper function because we're going to reuse the thing I'm going to create now. So we can say private function create light text paragraph. So as the name tells you, it's just gonna create a paragraph with a light text. So here we pass the text, which is a string, and return a paragraph. Here we can say val light text style, and we make style object. We call apply on that, and here we can set the font size to 12F. We can actually change the font color, and we can pass an RGB value. We can pass device RGB, and here we pass an RGB color. So red is 166, green is 166, and blue is the same. Now we can go up, and we can just call it create light text paragraph, and we can pass the invoice date. Okay, now let's create a button, and this button, whenever we click on that, we're gonna go to a link. So as you can tell, this is a link. So let's actually create pay button comment here, and then we create our link. So val pay link equals to link. Then we call this pay, and we add the price. Then we add the action, PDF action, create URI, and then we pass the invoice link. In here we can adjust on this, so we can say set text alignment. We wanna put this on the right, and we wanna also set the font color, make this white. We can say device RGB.white. Okay, so far we created the text with the link. Now we wanna create the shape of the button. We can do that with a paragraph, and we can apply a background on that. So we can say pay paragraph equals to paragraph, and we don't want to pass any text in here, but we want to add a block, which is the pay link, and we want to set background color. Here we want to make this blue, so that is the value of our blue color, here 92 and here 230. Now we want to set padding. I want to make this 12F, so we can actually, so this padding is for this text inside the button. And we also want to add the width of this button, make this 100F. And we want to set horizontal alignment. Set horizontal alignment. And we want to show that at the right. So horizontal alignment right. And finally, we want to also add set text alignment. And that would be center. So we want to show the text in the center of the button. Okay, so far we created each of these components individually, so now we want to put them together. We can use a table for that. So for the first column, we will actually put the invoice and the date, and for the next column, we put this button. We don't have any other way than this, like we don't have rows and columns, of course, with this library. We can lay out our PDF using a table, and that's what I'm gonna do. So let's create a table. So I'll call this just top section, or like that, top section table, and top section table here. That is a table object. So for the columns, as I said, we have two columns and set margin left. So we want to add more margin than the default margin. We also want to set the margin right, same value. And we want to set the width. Okay, now we want to calculate the width of our table. So we want our table to take the maximum width, but we want to consider the margins that we added in here and the margins we added by default in here. So we're going to create some simple calculations. So we're gonna get the page width from the page object. So page.page size, we get the width. And now we subtract the margin left and margin right, which is 30F and 26F. Now we want to add the cells to this table, so we can say top section table.add cell. I can see that we are not creating the paragraph here, so let's just say paragraph or return paragraph. We add the light text, or we add the text, then we apply the style. So add style, we pass the light text style. Okay, now let's create the helper function for this one. Let's create private function, and I'm gonna call this create no border table. I mean cell, not table. Here we pass the text of the cell, and now we can return the cell here. So we can say return cell. So here actually, instead of this text, let's replace it with a paragraph. And here we can say add paragraph. And we can set border. We can pass null in here. So we don't want to have any borders for this table. And here, let's call this function create no border cell. So for the first cell, which is gonna show in here, that is the invoice text. So let's paste that, duplicate that, and here we wanna pass the pay button, and then we wanna pass the date. And that's it for the top section. Now we have this line, so let's add that. So top section separator. We can say val line equals to line separator. And here we can pass a solid line. We want to change the color of that, so we can say color equals to device RGB. We pass these values. And we also want to add margin from the top. So set margin top, that is 20F. And finally, we can actually call document.add. First, we want to add the table, so top section table. Then we want to add the line, document.add line. Now let's actually check that out. Let's first close document. And let's run the app, or here, let's actually get an instance with that class. So you can say val PDF document generator here. Let's pass the context. And whenever we click on the button, we're gonna save that. Here I want to pass an invoice object, so I'll just copy and paste that. So here you go, so you can add this object by typing these values, or you can go to my repository and copy that from there. Okay, now let's launch the app, click on the button, and check out our PDF document. Okay, let's click on save. Let's refresh this one, click on synchronize. Here's the file, let's open that. And yeah, here you go. So this is the same as we have in the original one. Now if I click on this button, as you could see, we open Google here. But now let's keep on building this PDF document. Okay, now we're done with the top section. Now let's go with this one. So the sender and receiver information. And let's create a comment called this people information. So in here, as you could see, we can also lay out this with a table. And let's start by creating these texts. So from, to, and the names and the addresses. So we can say val from equals to create light text paragraph, or we can pass from. Same thing, we can say to create light text paragraph, or we can pass to. In here, we want to add something more to this, which is alignment right. So set text alignment, let's pass right. Because when we create our table, we want to make sure that this text take the right side of its cell. Now we want to create this name, val from name. In here, again, I want to create a helper function just like this one, but this one actually is going to return a bold text instead of this light one. I will change this to bold. And for the font size here, that would be 16F. And for the color, I want to pass that from the outside and assign a default value for that. I can say device RGB, default value is black. We can add that in there. And I want to add a vertical or set vertical alignment. And I want to make this in the middle. Let's change the name of this style to dark or bold. Pass it in here. Okay, let's go up and let's call this function create bold text paragraph. So in here we want to pass that text. So we can say create bold text paragraph. For the name, that would be invoice from .name. I'm calling the function twice, so let's remove one. And we want to add text alignment to left. Again, we want to create to name. Here, that would be 2. And the text alignment now is going to be on the right. Now, finally, we're going to create the addresses. So we can say val from address, and we can say create light text paragraph. The text here would be invoice from address, and we want to set text alignment to the left. Duplicate this, make this to address, call 2 here, and that would be on the right. Okay, now let's add the cells to our table, or let's first create our table. Let's delete these spaces, and let's here create val people table, and that would be a table. Here we're only gonna have 2 columns, and we can just say people table dot add cell. Let's make this 2 in here. So first of all, we want to add from, then we want to add to, then we want to add from name, then to name, we want to add from address, and to address. Then we can simply call document.add, and we can add the people table. Okay, now let's launch the app and see if everything's correct. So I'm gonna launch the emulator, click on save, open this, and here you go. Well, we have borders for this table, so we're gonna delete that now because we actually did not create. We should call create no border cell and pass this data in here. So let's do that. Create no border cell. Create no border cell. Same thing here. 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 And as you can see, the table also doesn't take the maximum width. We can again calculate the width and pass the width to this table, but I want to try another way. Let's pass through here for this attribute, large table. And one more thing is just we want to add margin from the top, add margin left and margin right. So we can call apply, set margin left. Let's add 15F, set margin right, 15F, set margin top, this time 50F. And let's launch the app. Let's see if that's gonna work when we pass it through in here. So let's save, let's open that. And yeah, that actually worked. We did not need to calculate that manually. I believe that we can also pass the same thing here in this table. So we don't need to calculate the width manually. We can just pass through. Let's try that again. Click on save, open this, and this also works. So we don't need actually to calculate the width manually. Okay, now moving to the next thing we have, which is the products table. So that will be the last thing we have here, or not the last thing, but once we finish that, we're almost done. So let's create that. And I'll start this by creating these different paragraphs. So we can say val, or before that, let's add products table, comment here, and first let's call description, and we can now create a black text paragraph. In here we want to pass description. We can add text alignment, make this on the left of the table. Let me just hide this. We want to duplicate that here for the rate. We pass rate in here, and that would be center. Then we have the quantity, and this also will be in the center. Then we have the subtotal, and let's put that on the right. Okay, now let me create a table. Call this products table. Now for the columns here, we are going to have 4 columns, and we can call apply. In here we want to set margin left, make this 15F, margin right, make this 15F, and margin top 50F. Then let's actually add the cells to this table. So we can say products table, add cell. In here, this cell is different because this cell is going to have a single bottom line here. So let's create a helper function to create that cell. private function create products or product table cell. In here, we want to get the paragraph and return a cell. Return cell. And here we can add the paragraph and we can call apply on that. We can first add padding from the bottom. So set padding bottom 20f, and we want to add padding from the top 20f. And now we want to cancel the borders. Then we set the bottom border. Set border. We can pass null. Then we can say set border bottom. And here we can pass solid border like this. And for the color, we can pass device RGB. Just pass these values here. And we want this to be 1f for the width. And one thing, let's actually adjust this and make it 15f for the top padding. And that's for the cell. Now we can go up here and call this create product table cell. We can pass the description. Then for the rate, for the quantity, and for the subtotal. And one more thing, let's actually pass true in here just to take the maximum width of this table. Now let's launch that and try to save this document. Click on save. Let's see it here. And I'm not able to see it. It's because we have not added to the document. So we can say document.add products table. Let's launch again. Click save. And here you go. So this is what we want. Now let's keep on. Okay, now we want to loop over our items in the list, the products list, and add that in this table. So we can say invoice dot products dot for each. So for each product we have, first of all, we want to get the description. So we can say val product description. So like that. And we can create black text paragraph for this. Create black or bold, we called it bold. In here we want to pass it.description, and for the color we want to pass another color. So let's create that in here, lighter black. And we can say device RGB. We can pass 64 for these values. We can pass that color in here. And now we can say set text alignment. We want to put that on the left side to match it with the description column. Now we want to create the rate. Same thing. So in here we want to pass the $sign first. Then we get it.rate. We pass the same color. And we set text alignment to center. I'm gonna just copy and paste this one for the quantity now. Let's delete this, say it.quantity to string, because that's an integer, and we're gonna put that in the center. And finally, we want to calculate the total here. So b subtotal. So to calculate the total of this row, we can simply multiply the rate by the quantity. So we add the $sign first, then $sign again, and open curly brackets. Can say it.rate, multiply that by the quantity. Okay, now we can simply add these items into our table. So we can say products table dot add cell. We can create product cell, and then we pass these paragraphs. So this would be for duplicate this 4 times. The first one would be for the description, so p description. This one for the rate. This one for the quantity. And this one for the total. Okay, now let's see that. Click on save. Let's open that, and as you can see, here it is. So here's our table. And we have all these products with the prices here, as you could see. Okay, so let's see what we have next. Now we have this grand total. So the total of this order. So we just wanna we want to actually add all of these subtotals, and then we add this signature on the left. So let's do that. First of all, let's actually create the grand total thing, or this would be a different cell, so we'd call this cell, and let's create cell here. Now, as you can see, this cell actually takes all these 4 columns, so we want to pass columns span, but we also want to pass a row span. So for the row, that would be 1, so it will only take 1 row. For the column span, it will take all the columns, the 4 columns. Then we add grand total. We have not created that yet, so let's do that. Above here, let's say grand total, and that would be a paragraph. Call this grand total, and let's set the font color. In here, I would pass device RGB 166 166 166. Delete this. We pass font size of 16F, and we pass text alignment. We put that on the right. Okay, now let's cancel the borders of this. Set border, and here let's call set border bottom, and let's pass solid border, and here the color, we want to pass this one. Let's add padding 20F. Also from the bottom 20F. Then we can add this cell, so we can say products table dot add, and we can add the grand total cell. Okay, now we added this section here with this line. Now finally we can add the last thing here we have in this table, which is the signature here and this price. So let's do that. So we can say invoice dot signature URL, which is the URL of this image. We make a null check because that is nullable in our object. Now in here we can create image data, so we can basically grab the URL of this image and put it in our document. This is a cool thing we can do with this library. To do so, we can say image data factory dot create. Now we pass or create like that. We pass the URL, so we put it in a URL object, and then we pass the string of that, which is it. Now we can say val image, create an image of our library itext.pdf. We pass the image data here, and then we can say image dot set text alignment. We want to show that on the left of our table. Then we can add a width, so 50F, 50F, and we can add a height 50F. Now we can add the cell, so products table dot add cell. We pass a cell here. So as you can see, since we have 2 entries for this row, which has 4 columns, we can give a column span of 2. So let's do that. For the row span, that would be 1. For the column span, that would be 2. Now we can add our image here. And we can set padding top 10F. Then we cancel the border, so we can say null. Now finally, we want to calculate the total price. So we can say total price equals create bold text paragraph. For the text here, let's add the $sign, and we want to create a function to calculate that. So private function get total price, and here we get the products, list of our products here. Here we can say price initially 0F. We loop over the products we have. Then we can say price plus equal the rate multiply by the quantity. Then we return this price. Let's add return value here of float. Now we can go up to this paragraph, we can call get total price, or we can pass the list of products, we can say invoice.product. And here we need to adjust on this paragraph, so we need to set text alignment to right. We need to make this bold, and finally we can create the cell of this one. So we can say total price cell equals to cell for the row span here, that would be not 1. Now for the column span here, if this signature URL is null, then we want to take all the 4 columns. But if it's not null, then we want to take only 2 columns. So we can say if invoice.signature URL, then we give this 4, else we give this 2. Then we can set padding top 10F, set border, we cancel that by passing null. Here we can say add, here we need to add the price paragraph, and we can say set vertical alignment, we put that in the middle, and finally we call products table.add, we add our total price cell. Now let's launch the app, see if everything's gonna work. Click on save, and we got a crash. Guess what? So let's see what caused this crash. Go up. Here it says that network on main. Okay, so network on main thread exception. That happened because we are downloading an image on the main thread. Okay, let's go here. Make this a spin function. And we can call with context here. And we switch the dispatcher to the IO dispatcher. So that is the dispatcher used to just make internet connections. Now, to also make sure that is gonna work, let's also add the internet permission. And let's launch the app again. Oh, we also need to launch a Cortian scope in the main activity. So let's do that here. Let me hide this. Let's get a scope here. Val scope equals, remember, Cortian scope. We can say scope.launch. And now we close it with a curly bracket. Let's launch the app. Click on save. Okay, we did not get any crash. Let's open this. And here you go, grand total, but we are not able to see the last section we have in the table. Why is that? And the reason is because we need to take this from here and put it before the close statement. Let's run the app again. Click on save. See that, and here you go. So here's our PDF document, looks exactly as the original one. And here's our signature. As you can see, we were able to just download one from the internet, which is very cool with this library. Now, as you can see, this one is saved into the internal storage. Only our app can access it. So now we actually want to let the user to save this in any directory that the user wants. To achieve that, we want to first delete this file here. And instead of that file, we're gonna get an output stream and pass it to this PDF writer. Okay, then we can go to the main activity, and here it complains because we have not passed that. But now to do so, we can actually create an intent. So we can say first, let's actually create a launcher for that intent. So we can say val create document launcher equals to remember launcher for activity result. And here we need to pass the activity contract, which is a result contract, which is start activity for result. And on result, in here we're basically gonna get the URI. We can say add.data again. We make a null check, and inside here now, as you can see, we get the URI. So now this URI has the permission to write files to it. We don't need to ask for any permissions because, as I said, this is a content query and it already has the permission for us. Now we can get the output stream of this using the content resolver. We want the context, so let's get that in here. Val context, local context.current, and here we can say context.contentResolver.open output stream. We pass the URI, and then we can say let question mark because that's nullable, and we can take everything we have in here inside this button click like this, and we can pass it to this function here. Let's delete this. One thing is here is that we did not copy everything, so we did not copy the function. I will just say PDF document generator dot generate invoice PDF. Yes, this is gonna complain because it's spent function, but we will fix that in a bit. Let's copy this now, paste it here. We have extra one, and we wanna pass the output stream, which is it. Let me use name arguments, so output stream, which is it. And for the invoice here, let's pass it. And as you can see, this is now complaining because we're not launching it inside the routine scope. So let's go down here and let's copy this scope, paste it here. And let's say scope.launch. And now we can just wrap it with this routine scope. Okay, now the last step is just to launch this launcher from here and passing the intent. So let's delete the scope and let's call launch on this launcher. Launch. And now for this intent, I want to create it here. So val intent, or let's actually delete this and say intent. So for the action here, that would be intent dot create document. Let's call apply on this, and we want to specify the MIME type. We can say type, and this is application PDF, and now we specify the title, so we can say put extra, or so put extra. We can say intent dot extra title. For the title here, I will call this invoice.pdf. Then we can call also, and we can cut this and launch this intent. And that is it. Now let's actually check if that works. Go here, click on save, and now the user can choose the directory where he wants to save this file. Click on save here. Let's go to the files. Here it is. And here you go. We found it in the downloads because that's where we actually choose it. Click on that. And here you go. So this is our PDF document. Okay, so one thing I can notice is that the date here is not visible. I'm not sure why is that. I'm gonna cut the video and get back to you. Okay, so the problem is from here in the top section table, when we passed through, that actually kind of messed up the date. I don't know why that happened, but the date is not visible whenever we pass through for this. So let's pass false and let's calculate the width manually as we did. So set width, we can say page.size.width minus 30f minus 26f. So that is supposed to work now. Let's see. Click on save, get back to the file. Let's open that, and here's the date. So now it works. Okay everyone, so that was a long video, but I have explained to you how to write PDF documents and save them into your external storage. If you think this video is helpful, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up and comment down below. You can also subscribe to my channel and join our Discord community. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Catch you in the next video.